The first time the alien princess watched him sleep, she was supposed to mark him for execution. But instead, she whispered, "You're chosen." And that single decision would shake 2 civilizations. Earth was not supposed to survive first contact. When the Valari Empire arrived, their ships blocked the sky like a second night. They did not fire at first. They simply watched, studied, calculated. Humans panicked. Governments collapsed into emergency councils. Militaries scrambled outdated defense systems. News channels called it the end of the world. But humanity had one advantage the Valari did not expect. Humans were unpredictable. Far below the hovering alien fleet, in a quiet research station in northern Chile, Dr. Adrian Vale was asleep at his desk. He was not a soldier. He was not a politician. He was an astrophysicist who believed the universe behaved like music. Patterns, harmonies, rhythms. His screens still glowed with unfinished equations. He had been studying strange energy pulses coming from the alien ships. The signals were not random. They repeated like a melody. Outside, the sky shimmered as Valari scanning beams swept across the planet. Inside the station, something impossible happened. The air above Adrian's desk bent like heat over sand. Light gathered. And she appeared. Tall. Silver-skinned. Eyes glowing faint blue like distant stars. Her uniform shimmered like liquid crystal armor. A small crown of floating light hovered above her head. Princess Lyra of the Valari. He did not wake. Lyra studied him carefully. This human was different. Her people had spent months analyzing Earth's broadcasts. Humans were emotional, chaotic, divided, violent. They were not considered a threat. But this one, his brain patterns were unusual. Their scans showed bursts of creative neural activity far beyond the norm. His mathematical projections had accidentally mapped weaknesses in Valari energy grids. He had no idea. Yet. Lyra stepped closer. She was not physically there, only a projection made from quantum light. Still, she felt something strange watching him breathe. Humans looked fragile. Soft skin. Slow reflexes. Limited senses. And yet they had reached space in barely a few thousand years. The Valari had taken 100,000. Her father, the Emperor, had made his decision. Earth would be harvested for resources. Humanity would be relocated or erased. Lyra was sent to evaluate resistance potential. She expected primitives. Instead, she found possibility. Adrian shifted in his sleep. He muttered something. Lyra activated a translator field. "No, that's not noise, it's layered, like chords." Even unconscious, he was solving. She felt something unfamiliar. Curiosity. Valari culture valued order and perfection. They eliminated unpredictability. That was how they conquered galaxies. But humans embraced chaos. And sometimes chaos creates brilliance. Suddenly, warning signals flashed across her internal interface. Valari Command was beginning Phase 1 planetary suppression. Within hours, global communications would collapse. Adrian would never finish his work. Earth would never understand what was happening. Lyra made a decision that no Valari princess had ever made before. She reached out and gently touched his forehead. His eyes snapped open. He saw her silhouette glowing in the dark room. For 3 full seconds, neither moved. Adrian did not scream. He blinked once and whispered, "You're not hostile." Lyra froze. "How do you know?" she asked through the translator. He sat up slowly. "Because if you were, I'd already be dead." Silence filled the room. Then he did something even more unexpected. He smiled. "You've been watching us for weeks, haven't you? The signal pulses from orbit. They're structured. You're mapping behavior, not planning bombardment." Lyra felt something close to shock. Humans were not supposed to detect that pattern yet. "Yes," she admitted carefully. He rubbed his eyes. "Okay. So either I'm dreaming, or humanity just made first contact in the most awkward way possible." Her lips curved slightly. Valari did not smile often. You are not dreaming, Adrian Vale. He stiffened. You know my name. We know many things. Outside, faint tremors rolled across the earth as alien ships adjusted position. Lyra looked toward the ceiling, seeing through it to the fleet above. My people believe your species will destroy itself within 3 centuries, she said softly. Statistical probability, 87%. Adrian frowned. That's optimistic. She tilted her head. You joke in the face of extinction. It's a coping mechanism. Again, that strange feeling stirred in her. Admiration. You are different from the others, she said. Rude. You think in non-linear structures. Your equations, she projected holographic images of his unfinished models into the air, accidentally predict weaknesses in our energy fields. Adrian's breath caught. That's impossible. For you, perhaps. The weight of the moment pressed against him. You're not here to threaten me, he said slowly. You're here because something about those weaknesses scares you. Lyra hesitated. She was heir to an empire spanning thousands of systems. She had never hesitated before. My father plans to initiate planetary control within hours, she admitted. But your mind, your species, you innovate too quickly. You adapt. Adrian stood up fully now. You're afraid of us. No, she corrected gently. I am intrigued. Alarms echoed faintly in her perception. Time was running out. She stepped closer. If humanity is to survive, you must do what no Valari algorithm can predict. He met her glowing eyes. And what's that? She leaned in. Her voice dropped to a whisper. You're chosen. The words hit him like gravity shifting direction. Chosen for what? He demanded. But Lyra's form was already flickering. To prove our calculations wrong. Then she vanished. The room returned to darkness. Outside, alien ships pulsed brighter. Adrian stared at the empty air. He had just been told that humanity's survival depended on unpredictability, on creativity, on him. He looked at his unfinished equations, then at the sky glowing with alien light. A slow, determined fire lit behind his eyes. Okay, he muttered. You want chaos. He began typing faster than he ever had in his life. Above Earth, Princess Lyra watched secretly from her flagship. For the first time in Valari history, an empire was about to underestimate humanity, and that would be their first mistake. By the time the Valari fleet activated Phase 1 suppression, Adrian Vale had already broken 3 laws of physics. Not because he was smarter than alien scientists, but because he was willing to try what they would never dare. Across Earth, satellites blinked out one by one. Communication grids failed. Power networks flickered. Panic spread like wildfire. The Valari ships did not fire weapons. They applied precision. Energy-dampening fields wrapped around major cities, neutralizing military systems without destroying infrastructure. It was clean, efficient, cold. The message was clear. Resistance was pointless. Inside the Chilean research station, Adrian's fingers moved like lightning across holographic screens. His eyes were bloodshot, but his mind burned brighter than ever. He replayed the energy pulse data Lyra had shown him. Valari shields operated on harmonic stabilization. Perfect symmetry. No wasted motion. No chaotic variation. Beautiful. And predictable. He whispered to himself, perfection always has a rhythm. And rhythm can be disrupted. He opened a global emergency scientific channel, one of the few networks not yet suppressed. A backdoor communication system designed for solar flare disasters. Within minutes, confused faces appeared from laboratories across the world. Dr. Hassan from Cairo. Professor Eleonora Cho from Seoul. Engineer Mateo Alvarez from Mexico City. They looked terrified. Adrian didn't waste time. Aliens are not invincible, he said calmly. They rely on harmonic energy symmetry. If we introduce non-lens interference, their suppression grid will destabilize. Silence. Then Hassan blinked. You're suggesting we attack a galaxy-spanning empire, with math? Yes. Professor Cho leaned forward slowly. What kind of non-lens interference? Adrian smiled faintly. Human noise. The Valari believed chaos was weakness. Humans knew chaos could be weaponized. Within hours, Earth's greatest scientists, hackers, musicians, engineers, and even amateur radio operators were working together. Not under one government. Not under one flag. But as one species. They built an improvised global resonance disruptor network using everything available. Satellite debris, underground transmitters, even modified music streaming servers. Instead of clean signals, they broadcast layered unpredictability. Jazz frequencies. Fractal mathematics. Randomized quantum fluctuations. Human creativity turned into a weapon. Up in orbit, Valari commanders frowned as their displays flickered. Princess Lyra stood silently beside her father's throne. What is happening? The Emperor demanded. Unknown interference patterns, an officer replied. The humans are transmitting disorganized signals. The Emperor scoffed. Primitive panic. But Lyra saw the truth in the data. The suppression grid was wobbling. Tiny inconsistencies were forming in shield harmonics. Adrian's theory was working. Back on Earth, tremors shook cities as energy dampeners began to overload. Military systems flickered back to life. Cheers erupted in underground bunkers. For the first time since the fleet arrived, humanity pushed back. Adrian wiped sweat from his forehead. This won't hold forever, he said into the channel. They'll adapt. Then we adapt faster, Matteo replied. That was the difference. Valari evolution had been slow, methodical, optimized. Human evolution had been brutal, fast, improvised, painful, and that made them dangerous. Above Earth, the Emperor's patience ended. Deploy enforcement vessels, he ordered coldly. Demonstrate consequence. Smaller Valari strike ships detached from the fleet. This time, it would not be clean suppression. It would be fear. Lyra's hands tightened behind her back. She had hoped humanity would impress her father. Instead, they had threatened him. And threatened rulers become cruel. She made another impossible decision. She accessed restricted command pathways and transmitted encrypted data directly to Adrian's system. Coordinates. Shield frequency adjustments. Weak points in strike ship formations. Adrian's screen lit up with alien code. He stared at it for 2 seconds. Then he laughed softly. She's helping us. Professor Cho's eyes widened. You trust her? No, Adrian replied honestly. But I trust curiosity. Human fighter jets scrambled. Outdated compared to alien craft, but now armed with something new. Harmonic disruptor missiles built in hours from modified particle accelerators. The first clash in Earth's sky was not graceful. It was messy, chaotic. Human pilots shouted over open channels. Some joked nervously. Some prayed. Valari strike ships fired precision beams. But their targeting systems struggled. Human aircraft did not fly in optimized patterns. They zigzagged. They improvised. One pilot pretended to flee, then reversed direction unpredictably, luring a Valari ship into a resonance trap. A disruptor missile detonated. For the first time in Imperial history, a Valari vessel fell. The Emperor rose from his throne in disbelief. Impossible. Lyra felt something fierce ignite inside her. Pride. Not for her empire. For them. On Earth, news spread instantly. We hit them. The psychological barrier shattered. Aliens were not gods. They could bleed. But victory came at a cost. Human jets were destroyed. Cities suffered collateral damage. Adrian watched casualty reports scroll across his screen. His jaw tightened. We can't win by matching their power, he said quietly. So what do we do? Hassan asked. Adrian looked at the alien code Lyra had sent. And then at the deeper layers beneath it. They don't understand sacrifice, he said slowly. Their society eliminates irrational risk. Professor Cho caught his meaning. You want to scare them? Yes. Up on the flagship, Lyra sensed a shift in human transmissions. Something new. Something dangerous. Adrian activated a final global broadcast. Not a weapon. A message. It transmitted every human achievement in compressed data bursts. Art. War history. Scientific revolutions. Failures. Recoveries. World wars survived. Pandemics endured. Extinction events overcome. It showed humanity at its worst. And its best. It ended with one sentence in every major Earth language. We are still here. The Valari command deck fell silent as the data streamed across their systems. The Emperor watched footage of humans rebuilding cities after devastation. Of strangers helping strangers. Of laughter in disaster zones. They are inefficient, he muttered. Lyra shook her head slightly. They are resilient. Below, Adrian leaned back in his chair, exhausted. The alien fleet had stopped advancing. Not retreating. Just observing. For the first time, doubt existed inside the Valari Empire. And doubt was more powerful than any missile. Lyra whispered softly from orbit, though he could not hear her this time. Show us who you are. Because now, the Empire was no longer certain humanity would fall. And when an empire begins to question, history changes. The Valari Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. But they had never faced a species that fought with music, chaos, sacrifice, and hope. And now, for the first time, the Empire hesitated. Above Earth, the fleet no longer advanced. They recalculated. They observed. They questioned. Princess Lyra stood beside her father as streams of human data continued to flood Valari systems. The Emperor's expression remained calm, but something deeper moved behind his glowing eyes. These creatures are unstable, he said quietly. Yes, Lyra replied. They should not survive. Perhaps survival is not about perfection. The Emperor turned toward her slowly. You speak like them. Lyra did not deny it. On Earth, Adrian had not slept in 36 hours. The first wave of attacks had slowed, but tension hung in the air like a coming storm. Human forces could not defeat the Valari fleet in open war. That was clear. The Empire still possessed power beyond imagination. But something else had shifted. Humanity had shown its teeth. And it had shown its heart. Adrian stared at the alien code Lyra had sent earlier. He noticed something hidden deep inside it, a recursive signal buried beneath command structures. A backdoor. No. An invitation. He opened a secure channel and began typing. Above Earth, Lyra's private console flickered to life. Incoming human transmission. Encrypted. She hesitated only a moment before opening it. Adrian's face appeared on her screen. He looked exhausted, but determined. You gave us more than weakness coordinates, he said. You gave us access. Lyra's voice was calm. You were meant to find it. My people are scared, Adrian continued. But fear doesn't define us. You've studied us long enough to know that. Yes, she said softly. You surprise us. He leaned closer to the camera. Then let's stop surprising each other. She felt her pulse quicken. Explain. You think we'll destroy ourselves in 3 centuries, Adrian said. Maybe we will. We fight. We fail. We break things. He paused. But we also fix them. Lyra listened carefully. We don't survive because we're perfect, he continued. We survive because when everything collapses, we choose to rebuild. Silence stretched between them. Behind Lyra, Valari officers debated strategic options. Some demanded planetary cleansing. Others urged caution. The Empire was divided. Adrian spoke again. You came here expecting primitives. Instead, you found potential rivals. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. You are not our rivals. No, he agreed. We're your future allies. The word echoed in her mind. Allies. Valari expansion doctrine did not include alliances. It included absorption, control, order. But humanity had shown something different. They had not unified under one ruler. They had unified under a shared threat. Choice. Adrian continued, you fear unpredictability. But unpredictability creates innovation. He gestured toward the stars visible through his station window. You've ruled through control for thousands of years. But control leads to stagnation. Lyra understood the dangerous truth in that statement. The Valari had not faced a true challenge in centuries. Their civilization had become comfortable, rigid. Adrian leaned back. You said I was chosen. For what? Lyra looked directly at him. To test a probability. And what's the probability now? She studied the shifting future projections running across her private display. Before Earth, humanity's survival odds had been 13%. Now, they fluctuated wildly. Some timelines showed devastating war. Others showed something unprecedented. Coexistence. The probability is no longer stable, she admitted. Adrian smiled faintly. Good. Suddenly, alarms blared across the Valari flagship. A faction of Imperial commanders had overridden hesitation. Strike protocols were activating. The Emperor had lost full control. Lyra's breath caught. This is not my order, the Emperor growled. But the fleet was already moving. On Earth, detection systems screamed warnings. A second wave was coming. This one would not be limited. Adrian closed his eyes for 1 second. Then he made the boldest decision in human history. He transmitted full access codes back to Lyra. You have the backdoor too, he said. We reverse the command chain together. You would give me control of your planetary defenses, she asked. Yes. Why? Because trust is also unpredictable. The Valari fleet began charging primary weapons. Lyra looked at her father. Then at the divided commanders. Then back at Adrian. If she acted, she would break Imperial law. She would redefine Valari history. She would choose uncertainty. Slowly, she placed her hand on the command interface. And Adrian did the same on Earth. Human and alien systems linked. Two civilizations intertwined in real time. Valari ships suddenly froze mid-charge. Energy weapons powered down. Control nodes rerouted. The rogue commanders found their authority stripped away in seconds. The Emperor stared at the displays in stunned silence. His daughter had done the unthinkable. She had cooperated with a lesser species. Below, Earth waited in breathless fear. Then the alien fleet shifted formation. Not attack position. Defensive orbit. A global transmission echoed from the flagship. Princess Lyra's voice carried across Earth in every language. People of Earth. The Valari Empire acknowledges your resilience. Your creativity has altered our projections. The world held still. We propose not conquest, but dialogue. Adrian exhaled slowly. Across cities, across nations, across cultures, humanity watched alien warships become something else. Not destroyers. Observers. Partners. The Emperor stepped forward beside his daughter. For the first time, he announced, the Valari Empire will not expand by force. His gaze shifted toward Lyra. Because perfection without growth is weakness. On Earth, people cried, laughed, collapsed in relief. Humanity had not won through superior weapons. They had won through adaptability, through risk, through unity. Adrian looked up at the sky, where once there had been fear. Now there was possibility. Lyra appeared beside him one final time in projection. You have changed our future, she said. He shook his head gently. No. We changed it together. She studied him quietly. You were chosen because your mind sees patterns. And you, he asked. Because I was willing to break them. Above them, Valari and human engineers began exchanging data. Scientists began speaking across worlds. Musicians began transmitting compositions into alien space. The galaxy had expected Earth to fall. Instead, Earth had done what humans always did when facing impossible odds. They adapted. They united. They refused to kneel. And in doing so, they changed the stars.